Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into In the Bag. We're here. We're
We're
vibing.
back.
We're vibing, thriving, surviving, all of it. ABB, how you doing today?
Doing good, man. Hey, it's after Battle for Bedford. That was a fun event last weekend. Got to go out there, got to play some disc golf, and it's cold here. I love it. I love cold disc golf, and I mean that with no sarcasm.
I was having the conversation with Lindsay the other day, and because we have a cold front swinging through here, and I was like, I love the cold for everything except for disc golf, like which is kind of my job. So
Yeah,
tough
that's
scene
tough.
there, but it's simply because of my like circulation in my hands. So people that if you're listening and you also have horrific circulation in your hands, that's where it gets bad. Is like my hands dry out really fast, and then I can't grip anything. So
Right.
like I did a video yesterday trying to throw a premium plastic disc, and it was already a shallow disc, and it just kept like slipping off while I was trying to throw it. So interesting, the game we play. But what's also interesting is our sponsor for In the Bag, which is Flippy Disc Golf. So while I was out there in the cold, I was wearing the new Soul Pro material, which traditionally more of a dry fit material from them, but still kept me incredibly warm, and feels very comfortable, feels very loose. And then you have other jersey material like this one. This is the kind of stuff that, especially when we get to those colder climates, definitely going to be wearing it a lot more. So it's like it feels very t-shirt blend versus, but it's not like a comfort colors type t-shirt.
No. It's very different. And, I mean, I particularly love flippy hoodies. So I was wearing my In the Bag hoodie yesterday, and when it first started getting cool, and I was like, oh yeah. And it's funny, Jason and I are crazy. We just keep shorts on all winter just because we're those guys. But I had flippy shorts on yesterday. Love those. I know it's maybe a little out of season for them, but hey, they have some comfort shorts you can wear around the house when you're snuggled up by the fireplace and such. So a lot of gifts for Christmas. So make sure you check those out for your disc golfer, your loved ones. They're customizable. So check out the link in the description. Make sure you type in code foundation for some discounts there. And hey, it's never too early. We're in November now, Robbie. It's Christmas time.
Absolutely. Snag them deals. So we got a fun episode lined up for today. Excited for today's guest. Last week we had sort of a thumber tutorial with Rick, which was really fun. Our guest today doesn't throw abnormally, I guess is the way to put that, but super fun and throws pretty far. So I think it's going to be a fun episode, hopefully highlighting like what's understable for you versus understable for everyone else kind of a deal. And is it worth diving into like actually understable discs? So I think it should be a really fun episode. But we actually have a new sponsor to joining In the Bag for this. Like for a lot of you, when you asked to see the bag put out there, because I know for a couple episodes we didn't have the bag out there. Brand new sponsor, super, super cool opportunity. Disc RPM. It is a good bag building alternative. They are the official bag builder of In the Bag. And something that's really cool about how they set it up, it's super easy to put your bag in there, but also they can build communities so that you can see shared bags and things of that sort, which means that if we have previous guests on In the Bag, you can go to the In the Bag community at discrpm.com and check out like, oh, this was Rick's bag, or oh, this is Ben's bag, whatever it may be. Get really cool insight into that. And Brad, tell them about like the customization option, because I really do think that is probably where this place shines.
Yeah, I think the thing I like the most about it is like you can actually like upload pictures of your actual disc. So I'm one of those guys. I like to have all of my discs look a little different or be special or special stamped or dyed or things like that. And you can actually upload your disc and put the picture in there, and hey, it spins. It's fun. I love it. So that's really cool. So not only can you keep track of what disc you have in your bag, but the exact disc you have in your bag, and hey, you can show them off a little bit with your friends and in this community. And if you join the In the Bag community, you can see mine and Robbie's bags and other bags from the show. And, hey, you hear me talk about my uplink all the time. You can see it's a Sacred Heart dyed one that a viewer sent in, which is awesome. Or, hey, this is what that vulture looks like. It's just a normal vulture. It looks normal, but it doesn't fly like one. So I think that's a very cool element. And, my dream whenever I find some time to do this is like take all the discs in my collection and take pictures of all of them so I can actually highlight, what exact disc. I don't just have like 3 Thunderbirds. I can show exactly what Thunderbirds I have. So I think Disc RPM has a lot of cool things working for it, and that's why they're going to be the official sponsor of In the Bag. And so you're going to see new graphics up on the screen. Some of it's going to look a little similar, but it is structured differently. And again, I like the easy viewability of all the discs and like actually the flight characteristics of the disc. So very excited to have them on as a sponsor. Thanks, Disc RPM. We appreciate you a ton.
Absolutely. With that being said, let's bring in our guest. Welcome to the podcast. Perhaps in disc golf world, I would argue the most famous intern out there, known as Intern Ben. But we've got Mr. Ben Kenny's on. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Robbie and Brad. How you guys doing?
Good, man. Glad to have you on. Glad to, it's always fun to have other podcasters on. So we enjoy having you on. I'm excited to look at your bag again. I think Robbie kind of highlighted this, but looks like you throw pretty far, and that's not necessarily our usual guest, but I think there's a lot of learning that can be done with a guest like that. So I'm excited to jump in.
Yeah. Absolutely. We we're talking to a man who's collabed with the Simon Lizotte. He was throwing time lapses and throwing them in before any of us even had
crazy.
Yeah.
Threw an eagle first time I tried the time lapse. I know it's just something you can't make up. I was very fortunate to do that, and I'm glad it happened. That's all I can say. I don't know how it happened, but it did.
Hi, I love it. It's just when you're that good, right? Like some people say, the better you are, the luckier you get. Nah, you're just better. That's what you do. So
yeah, sure.
I love it. Well, Ben, we want our guests to get to know you. For those who may not have heard of you before, and get to know you as a player first. We'll give you a chance at the end to kind of advertise and show, like, hey, here's where you can find me later. As the people get to love you through this episode, So, how long have you been playing disc golf?
So I started officially I'll say April 2021. I played maybe like 10 times between 2015 and 2017, but that was just like 3 discs starter pack, kind of just like hanging out with my friends. But 2021 is when I like, wait, this is actually fun, and I started playing a lot since then.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like around 2.5 months, I think.
Yeah.
2 years and 6 months. So 2.5 years is what I meant to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was like, if you've been playing for 2.5 months, you are the best player I've ever seen after 2.5 months.
Right.
Thank you. Yes, I wish.
So, okay, awesome. So we put you out in a field, and we know in that 2.5 years, some people can progress faster than others, depending on what they're doing, not all that. So we put you out in a field, and we're like, all right, Ben, we're going to put a basket X amount of feet away. How far out can we put it that you feel like you can consistently and accurately reach it on a backhand and a forehand?
Oh, consistently and accurately. I think I can get 400 to 420 pretty accurately. And consistently. Anything above that, I'm really putting my all into. And and then forehand, I don't really know too much about my forehand. I just kind of do it. I'd say 250 maybe. That might be a bad guess. I don't really know, but I'd say 250 before the discs start getting flippier and stuff like that. So yeah, I'd say 250. I don't really know.
Yeah, no, that's very curious. And I also I think about the golf that you get to play, like the Northeast area. I feel like it's so heavily wooded at times.
Yeah,
that there are very few opportunities for you to just be like, oh yeah, I have holes where I get to test the forehand and the backhand just opening up, because I feel like most of the time you're probably just going to throw a backhand if you have the chance to open up.
Yeah, exactly. If I'm really opening up and need to get like above 400 or 350 even, yeah, it's always a backhand. It's only a forehand if it's the shot calls for it. I'm not like dominant off the tee pad.
Yeah. So I look at this. So I teased you're in the Northeast. where I got to meet Ben in person for the first time was
Yes.
Northeast Disc Golf Expo, and we'll talk about that at the end. But Maple Hill right around the corner.
Yep.
And so like hole 5 at Maple Hill, the over the water shot, do you go the backhand turnover or do you go the forehand? Or do you go Isaac and just go up the, or not Isaac?
Yeah.
Who was it going up the right side?
I just want to say to anyone that was watching that Isaac clip it's insane. You don't understand how tight that tunnel is, how many trees you have to miss at the end. It went around our group chats and we were like bamboozled. But yeah, I go forehand. It's just like a stock forehand pretty much.
Okay.
Just throw it high and hopefully it comes back.
Yeah, hopefully it comes back and hopefully it has enough. I love it. Awesome. Okay, so we put you on the putting green. We got the distance dial, then we put you on the putting green, and we're like, all right, Ben, we got 10 putts from 15 feet, 10 putts from 25 feet, and 10 putts from 40 feet. How many are you making at each station?
So 15, 25, 40. 15, I'd say I think I can make 10 out of 10, but I'd say to be safe, 8 out of 10. I might get nervous because it's a contest and I got to show off, you know?
Yeah.
So, as for 25, yeah, that's when it gets a little more sketchy. My putting's not great. That's my blunder in disc golf, unfortunately. So I'd say I can consistently get like 6 where it's not too great, not too bad, but I think I can consistently get 6. Obviously I can get 10, but it's just like on average day, probably 6. And then 40, like 3, I'd say I can get, just because I'm punting 10 in a row, I'm just getting field based. So one of them a few of them are bound to go in. So I'd say maybe 2 or 3, from 40.
Okay.
So I'm not a great putter. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, Brad. I appreciate the honesty because I think even lots of us step up, and I'm a very confident putter, and I would be like, oh yeah, 10 out of 10 for 15. But you never know. Like there's that one moment where it's just like, nope, it just comes off wrong. And
Yep, exactly. It's mental for me too. So
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Well, our last question is always, what would you say is the biggest strength of your game?
Yeah, biggest strength of distance, honestly. Amateur distance, by the way. Like I can get 450 pretty consistently, at least 450. But I can't. I'm not in the 500 range yet. But yeah, I'd say distance is probably my biggest strength because I can get into certain landing zones that are, I guess, easier to do upshots from. Like you see, like a lot of, especially like the more advanced layouts. That's the distance.
No, I mean that makes sense. I think when people first think of distance, they go to the tee box and they go to the tee box with distance drivers and they're thinking, okay, I want distance because I have a 420-foot hole at my course that I want to be able to reach. Like it's a 420-foot par 3. I take a 3 on it every time. And the people I play with throw 100 feet less than me. And they also take a 3 on it every time. And it's so frustrating. Whereas I feel like where the guy who throws 450 shines is not only can you reach landing zones that the people who can't throw that far can't, but also you're stepping up to a 320-foot hole. And whereas someone who throws a distance driver at that distance, you're probably getting like a putter or a mid there pretty comfortably.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I do, the better I get, like it's crazy. The better I get, I find myself like looking at holes like, wow, why did I find this hole so hard? Especially at Maple Hill. There's been some holes where I'm just like, I know in the past I just couldn't get it, and then now it's just like easy. And I think slower discs like that, mid range and putters, really help. Minimize tree kicks because those are bound to happen. But also, I don't know, just something about a slower flight just helps me get a little more accurate in the woods, where it's just like I throw it up and it's just like falling, as opposed to like trying to really rip a fairway or something, and I might be off a little. Then see you later.
No,
that's the truth.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing when I played the World's Layout at Ivy Hill a couple weeks ago is just realizing how important like that, even if I could throw 400 versus like 320, right? How much different I could score, to your point on the landing zones, right? And then some of these other shots where like they're par threes, but they're maybe 400 feet. I'm trying to rip like a fairway or like a slower distance driver there versus, maybe I can just like place a mid pretty close for an easy upshot. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I could take an easy par versus like struggling to get a bogey there. So I think your point's really great on like the landing zone thing. And I mean, shot planning was very important, obviously at Ivy Hill, and
Yeah.
it's just not something I'm used to, or I really have the ability to do like a longer distance, like smaller local courses that are easier. Yes, I can place things, but on that level of course, it's much different.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where really you kind of see the difference on like that level of course, where it's like Maple Diamonds it up, like Maple Gold. The landing zones are a lot more specific and more conducive to scoring well, rather than like, let's say like Whites, where it's like you just got to get on the bucket and to birdie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I mean, Simon would say, even though, because I think a lot of people look at hole one and they're like, oh, yeah, it's downhill. Like, you can just crush one. No, like it is downhill, but it's
far.
not like you're not throwing off the side of a mountain there.
Yeah.
Like, you got to
It's
throw it.
far.
Simon, I think, said 450 is what he thinks you've got to be able to throw in order to get
I'd
all the way over.
Yeah, I'd say that's about right. Th- if I get a good one where it flips up nicely, I can get past the blue basket and like kind of down that path. But yeah, sometimes it's just like barely past it. And even at the MVP Open, I saw personally a ton of pros flip it up and then it just turns over and goes in the water, or goes, because it's tricky. It's a tricky hole. You want good placement, but you got to get a little flip out of it if you want that good placement. And sometimes it's just
Too
you do a
much.
little too much.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how it is.
Yeah. Greed is a real thing.
That's the truth.
So
It's a real thing. That's true.
I'm here for it.
That's
well,
funny.
Looking at your bag, you've got a really interesting mix in my eyes, because you have you've got a lot of Innova
Yes.
and a lot of Discmania,
Yeah.
a good amount of Discmania. So my first question is like, is a lot of your Discmania original Discmania, or is it like modern Discmania?
I
Or
think
is it
it's
kind of mixed?
more. I think it's more more modern. I think I have one older Discmania mold in my bag, but that's like a backup, so I didn't put that in there. Yeah, more modern. Oh, other than the MD2, obviously. Sorry, I was trying to think through it. The MD2 is like an older disc. I don't even know when it was released. Like I can't even find it online. The Swirly S9 one, at least. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, the MD2 is definitely one that I was like, "Ooh, have they made PD2s yet since the switch over like to their own manufacturing?"
I don't
So
believe so.
yeah, I throw Elixirs, which is Innova. Well, this Mania's PD2 that Innova made. It just wasn't an option, so I just put
Called it a
PD2.
PD2. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
Same with the Dark Rebel. The Dark Rebel is what
Correct.
FD.
FD.
So yeah, technically there's a little more Discmania in there, but just Innova
Yeah.
made that
Hey,
they used.
I was a firm believer when Discmania split. I was like, man, there are so many Discmaniacs who would just continue to buy. Like, the leave would hurt them so bad, because if I'm Innova, I'm like, all right, this right here, we're calling it a like a buzzard. And the buzzard is the PD2. Like, it's
Yeah.
just, we're not even trying to hide it. It's the PD2, guys. Here we go. And I guarantee you, people would be like, well, I might want to see what Discmania made. No, I'm going back. Like, Discmania remade the MD5, and it is a shadow of itself compared to its Innova made counterpart. So little things like that. Okay, cool. Well, seeing that, so let's talk. We're going to start drivers, work our way down to putters, but you've got, we'll start with the big guys. You've got a PD2 and two destroyers in the bag.
Yeah.
One of them being a Halo destroyer. So walk me through sort of the differences between those three.
So I bag a Star Destroyer for like I said, the bomber kind of flip up to flat, turn over a little bit, and hopefully come back. Depends. Sometimes I just get starter destroyers that just burn over for no reason. So yeah, it's basically that type of shot. I'm really throwing it to bomb.
Mm.
Yeah, and the Halo one is it's more stable. I can still flip it up, but it's not really turning right too much. It's just more of like a reliable type of disc where I can throw it and I know it's going to finish left and not burn over. And then the PD2, I'm kind of experimenting with this one. I've started throwing it more recently, but it's just like my most overstable. I can like kind of flip it up, but it's mostly going left and I can trust it in the wind. And if I need like hole 11 golds, let's say, if it's windy and I need it to land in the middle there,
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw that because the destroyer would just flip up and go to Timbuktu.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So that makes sense in terms of like even your overstable destroyer is getting some flip. So when you have a disc that's getting flip and you're throwing it in windy environments, horrific combination because flips too
Yeah,
much, holds too straight, things like that. So
yeah. That's a big thing. Sometimes it just holds too straight. Like I've thrown in the wind and it just holds too straight and it doesn't go left enough. So that's a good point.
Mhm.
yeah.
So,
So
so
would you
then
say?
you.
Go ahead, Brad.
Oh no, I was going to get onto the Wraith. If you had a question about the destroyer, Robbie.
Yeah, no, it was more so connecting the PD2 to the PD,
Mhm.
and then I was going to come back to the Wraith just in terms of like, is the PD? I know like what does it do compare? Kind of lumping all the overstable stuff in there. So you have
Mm-hmm.
like your FD3, your PD, and your PD2. So on that side of the bag, is it just like the same shot, just distance changes, or what's the vibe?
Yeah. So I'd say same shot, distance changes. I trust it a lot more. I don't know why. It's just actually on my Instagram, I just aced with it. Hole 2 maple white. I just aced with it. It's just like a comfort. I don't use it all the time. Like if it's in a flat field, I'm not really using it, but it's more to like I throw it up and I need it to come down. And I think I think it's mostly distance, but it's just to me just more reliable because sometimes I can throw the PD2 and it can just go a little further.
Yeah, I bag a PD just, and that's my like for me my extremely overstable. It's going to go left no matter what, how I throw it. I can really flex and it's coming back left. If it's heavy wind, it's going to come left. So, do you find how does the PD like? Is it more of like you can flip it up and it's straight but reliable finish, or is it never flipping for you?
So if I really rip on it on flat field, it's straight. It goes straight, and then at the very end, it'll turn left. So it's kind of that slot where it's not going to turn over. If I throw it on Hyzer, it's not even thinking about turning over. It's just going left, but it's not too overstable. It's like a manageable overstable where I kind of got a feel for it. Where like sometimes when I throw like my Doombird, where sometimes I throw it, it just like dumps, and I'm like, that is not where I was aiming.
Mhm.
That makes sense. So the Wraith, I know a lot of people like the Wraith is the weak arms destroyer.
Yep,
So
that's me.
the flight you were talking about that you're getting out of your star destroyer, I know a lot of people will see in a Wraith like flip up. Depending on the type of stability of the Wraith, it may stand up, but it's not going to turn. Some people's Wraiths turn, things like that. So what slot does the Wraith serve for you here?
So right now, yeah, on backhand the Wraith is pretty totally useless. It's like a roller disc. If I really Hyzer flip it up, it might fight out and bomb, but it's just too risky. I mostly use it for forehands.
Okay.
Because it's such a roller angle on the back end that for forehand I can get it to flip up but hold. It doesn't like burn over. And so I use that for a lot of Hyzer flip forehands where there's a tunnel shot and I want to go right. So it's basically my workhorse forehand. I'd say I use that more than like my 9 speed Doombird or FD3, I should say.
Yeah, that was my question. I wondered the Wraith, because you described your Star Destroyer being so like a turn disc for you, that I was like, this Wraith has to be like almost a roller for him. So that's good to know. But yeah, I like that. Well, and I'll use like a lift for a flip up forehand. It's a 9-speed. And I like it because I know it's going to flip up and I don't have to put a lot of power. So I feel like my accuracy like exponentially gets better knowing
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
can do that. So sounds like that's what the Wraith is doing for you. And I was going to ask you if the FD3, because I mean, I've felt a lot of FD3s, and every time I feel one, I'm like, man, I should put this in for forehand, like an overstable forehand. They're just flat and they feel really
Yep.
comfortable. So I wondered if you use that for primarily forehand.
Yeah. So the FD3 as well. Yeah. It's primarily forehand. I'm not really throwing it on backhand ever. It's just like it's the slot that everyone needs to have, the Firebird, FD3, whatever, 9-speed, overstable. You know, you gotta throw it flat and it has to skip right, or you can, it's just the old trusty dusty.
Yep, exactly. And
So
then go ahead, Robbie.
if your Wraith is a roller on a backhand, what does a beast do for you?
So it's a Halo Beast. This is the one. Good question. Um, this is the one where I'm experimenting with. I saw Bradley Williams throw like a Halo or something, a Beast at maybe it was the Preserve once, and then I just wanted to try it out. A lot of I'll just say the reason I bag so much Innova is they have a factory store and it's just cheaper plastic. It's a misprint or whatever. That's why I order a lot of discs. I just lose a lot of discs. Just the nature of playing at Maple Hill or wherever I play a lot of water. And it's just cheaper. And I've just kind of like grown dependent on Innova because of that. Because instead of paying 20 to 25, I'm paying $10 per disc.
Yeah.
So I tried the Beast. It flips up and it rides to the right, and with enough finesse, it'll come back. It's just a more, I guess, this might not make sense, a stable flip up. Whereas the Wraith, I can rip it and it's like going right. It's gone. Hi, Grammy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
My grandma just came in. So thanks. It flips up and it's gone. With the Beast, I can flip it up and it'll hold straighter and go right, or maybe even hold. It's just a more stable on the flip over side. It doesn't burn. That's a good term. It doesn't burn. It's kind of just holds.
Interesting.
But I'm experimenting. I don't know if I lose it, I might not order it again. Who knows?
Yeah. So, and you is that a shot that like you like having in terms of, okay, so I need I have a hole that needs to go right, but it can't be the extreme right of a forehand. So the Halo Beast is what you're leaning on for those kind of shots. Like, do you find
Yeah.
yourself using it often, or it's just
Yeah.
kind of a fun shot to have?
Yeah, now that I think of it, I don't really use it at all. It's like I definitely could be using a lot more because I don't really need the flip up to go right. In the places I play, at least, I need a flip up, go right, then come back. Sometimes I don't really use it. I guess it's more of just like it's in my bag. If I want to throw multiple shots, it's just fun to play with. But yeah, now that I think of it, off the tee, I'm not really throwing it ever. 10 speed. Have you guys thought of this? 10 speeds are just so weird. Like it's just like I've tried a straight 10 speed, but I found myself like an Annex or the Nordic Phenom. Those are pretty straight.
Yeah.
But I find myself never using it when I bagged it. It's just like it's in a weird slot where it's like I could get there with the 7 speed probably just as much. But then if I need more, I go to the 12 speed. It's like maybe like 10 to 50 feet of distance it captures. It's just such a weird slot.
Yeah. I think of it like a golf 5 wood. So it's where I'm like, it's not a driver,
No.
but it goes far. So like there's going to be a scenario where I'm going to walk up probably once a round if I'm playing a traditional golf course and I'm like, this is a 5 wood shot. Like I gotta get after it, but I can't really get after it too much. And so I'm pulling this out. And I feel like depending on the courses you play, it really is going to be that like once in a blue moon shot of,
Yeah.
oh, this is perfect. And then it's just not like it
Yeah.
is. Yeah, I can always, you're going to throw it so few times that when the pressure moment comes, you'd almost rather be like, I think I'd just rather take some off of the Star Destroyer than try to make this Halo Beast work. Or I can even
Yeah.
take a ton off the Wraith or whatever it may be to try to create that. So
I think
yeah.
here in Slow Arm Land where I live, like the 10 speed is really kind of like my like distance driver category. So when I get up to 10 speed, that's like really where like really my vulture is like my destroyer, because I know that I can hammer on it. I know I can get it to turn a little bit or flip up and just go straight. It won't turn over on me, and I can have an overstable finish. Like it's like, I think you described it as like usable, like manageable overstability for me. That's the
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
that I use it. And I think that's probably why it's not weird for me, like in my bag. I think I'm just starting to reach up into the driver category. So like the 10 speed's still manageable for me, whereas I'm not going to throw a destroyer or like a PD. I thought about throwing a Wraith. I mean, that seems like the logical, probably next step for me after the Vulture, as far as like experimenting with an 11 speed. But I think the 10 speed's kind of like not weird for me because I'm reaching into that category when I'm really needing something specific. But to your point, I can probably throw my like FD or my Grackle probably almost as far as the Vulture. The Vulture maybe gives me like 25 more feet if I really hammer on it, but usually I need that utility. It's almost like a utility shot for me because I need the overstability, but I need the distance. And I need it. If I mess up, it can't go right. So I'm going to reach up and grab that Vulture. So I think that's, I hear you on the 10 speed, though. I do see the distance thing between a 9 speed and a 10 speed, or even a 7 and a 10. But I think that's maybe why I'm reaching for the 10 speed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's move down to fairways then, gentlemen, shall we? If we'll count the tens up there. Depending on who you're chatting, we'll move past the control drivers.
There you
I
go.
should say. But once you get down there, it's very curious to me because in like true fairways, Ben, you only have 3. A lot of really high
fairway
speed
drivers. I don't know why I was thinking of like fairways on a disc golf course, but yes, fairway drivers.
No, traditional. I hope most of those have 18. That would be ideal.
Head scratcher. Yeah.
No. So
3,
you've got a T-Bird 3. Let's talk
Yep.
about the T-Bird 3. What's it doing? Because I feel like the Rebel and the Leopard could be like compared side by side.
So T-Bird 3 is basically my shorter PD. Does the same exact thing. It's Metal Flake. It's a stable one. I know like there's a run of like glow or maybe all color glow T-Bird 3s that could basically be my Leopard. So in this case it's the Metal Flake T-Bird 3. Yeah, it's just reliable. I can really rip on it. It's probably might turn a little bit, but it's more of my straight to overstable, and it's going to finish overstable type of 7 speed. So yeah, it's just basically my PD. Just it's junior.
Okay. And then so the Rebel and the Leopard 3, what do they do like compared to one another?
So the Dark Rebel, honestly, it's one of my favorite discs I think I've ever bagged. I can hammer on it with enough Hyzer, and it just flies straight, and it's a beautiful flight. So yeah, it's basically my straighter T-Bird 3, or my straighter fairway that I want to flip up, and it's gonna go straight. It might go to the right a little bit, but it's not dumping. It's just consistent, and I can really rip on it, and I know that it's gonna finish somewhat straight, either right or left, just depending how hard I throw it. As for the Leopard 3, it's a Metal Flake Leopard 3, but that doesn't matter to Leopard 3. It doesn't beef it up or anything.
Yeah.
It's my flippy guy. It's basically the same as the Wraith, but I don't. It's just more usable because maybe it's because of it's a 7 speed. Obviously, if I rip it like it's a Wraith, it won't do it. But I can depend on it more because it's more of a 7 speed and it's meant to be thrown a little slower. So it's my flip up forehand in the woods. If I don't feel good with the Dark Rebel, or it's just my turning right disc. Like I know it's specifically no one's gonna know this, but I throw it on like 15 whites, like a tunnel shot that finishes to the right, and it's pretty scary. So I throw that on a lot of Hyzer that flips up and it goes right a little, but it probably gets like 25 to 20 feet right of the basket. If I miss all the trees, which is
Okay.
that's a big caveat. So yeah, it's my turnover 7-speed, but I'm more using it less of a turnover. I'm not a turnover guy. I'll be honest. I'm more
Yeah.
using it for the accentuated Hyzer, I should say, where it's flipping up and then turning a bit, but it's more for straighter shots and I can rely on it more. Like I know it's going to flip up rather as, you guys probably know, like sometimes you throw a flippy disc and it just doesn't flip up and it's just like, ooh.
Frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, all right, this needs to get this way. And then it just holds straight. And you're like, keep going, buddy.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah, exactly. So
No,
that's
that makes a ton
slot.
of sense.
Yeah.
So stepping down, I would say, what does your MD1 do in that realm?
So my MD1 is same thing. You guys are probably learning kind of how I play. I'm a more of a flip up Hyzer type of guy. It's just what's comfortable to me, how I can hit more fairways and get further, because I think it's just an accuracy, honestly. For me, throwing kind of more up, I guess, rather than throwing it flat and around my body. I don't know if that's the correct term, but so yeah, it's my flip up disc. If I needed to turn over, I guess in mid range, I definitely turn it over a little more, use turnover a little more. But it's my flip up, flippy, might go right, might go left. Already, kind of like the leopard. So that's what it's used.
Okay. So would you say that the MD1 is actually understable, or you're kind of working it into the understable slot?
I don't know. Have you guys ever thrown mind benders? Any of you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I like it so much because it was originally like out the box, flip up, go flat, and it was a little stable. Like I used to bag it, then I stopped bagging it because I'm like, dude, this isn't turning over. Like it's just like holding it. But I think the more I worked with it, it got a little more usable to that slot. Because I used to throw Origin, and that is like it's like the same category as like the Wraith for me, where it's just like sometimes it's like too touchy, I guess, where it's like if I don't put enough power, it'll go left. If I put too much power, it goes right. And that like slim in between of the center it's just too calculated, I guess, for me to think about on the throw, where it's like the MD1, I can trust it more, be more dependent on it that's not going to turn over.
I used to bag the MD1 and I took it out for like the exact opposite reason almost for me, because it was like almost taking multiple categories that I just needed. I need like my uplink. I need it to know I can barely throw it and it's going to go right. And I need like the dune that's going to go laser beam straight. And then I have the hex, the fission hex is going to go pretty straight and have a little bit of finish. And like the MD1, I think I was making a lot of throwing errors because I would pull it out and say, okay, this is going to flip up and go straight. And then it wouldn't flip and it just kind of hold the line. Or I'm like, okay, I need this to turn right. And it would just stay straight.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
And I just, it just, I couldn't get it to do what I want. And it's not the disc's fault. It's my fault. It was angle control, but it didn't allow me to like make the errors I needed to make as a like not great at disc golf person. So I'm using the discs more like they're off the shelf capabilities versus like one disc that I can use for multiple angles and shots, which again, that's probably the next level of progression, but I felt kind of the same way in like the opposite space.
Yeah. We both had discs that kind of just like didn't work for us. We just weren't as comfortable with, and that's huge. I think everyone listening, that's a huge thing. Just because like the pros use it or whatever, if it's not comfortable to you, you have to really overthink, like, and it's just not flying right, then you just got to get a new disc. There's trillions of discs out there that, don't try and force a disc. Like, yeah, the Mindbender's cool. Like Simon threw it. It's his signature, but don't be afraid to try something new. And then it came back into my bag. If you love something, let it go.
Amen. So a disc that you mentioned earlier of, okay, this is a tough one to find, is the MD2.
Yeah.
So what does the MD2 do for you?
So it's actually a miracle disc. I'm gonna be very sad when I lose it one day. It's my workhorse. I guess it's more like what Gannon's like Test M2 is to him. It's to me because I've thrown his M2, so it's I can really rely on it, and throw it. If I throw it flat, it's gonna come right a little bit, but it's gonna come back left. It's more of a straighter disc. If I throw it on a bunch of Hyzer and really rip it, it's gonna flip up, go straight, and then maybe fade to the left. It's my straight guy. It's crazy. It's so dependable. I can rip really hard on it, and I know it'll go straight no matter what, even on like multiple angles. It just always comes back. It's weird. It's a weird disc, but I love
Hey, nothing wrong with loving a weird one.
it.
I literally was having a conversation with Jesse from Trash Panda last night, and we were talking about when I'm coming out to Colorado with him, and he was like, I cannot wait to see you throw your precious child in Colorado. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, because you know that disc better than you know anything else in your bag, and it's a weird flippy pig.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's just not going to do what you think it's going to do. I'm like, I know that pig pretty well. So I can understand the love of an MD2, and that like there is nothing quite like games on the line. All right. Like Matt's looking at you. He's talking trash. Evan's
Yeah.
talking trash. And you're like, all right,
They're always
time to
talking
shut him up.
trash. Yeah.
MD2. Here we go.
Yeah.
So.
It's just all reliable. Like I'd say it's your flippy pig. It's just it's something I can really depend on and know exactly what it's gonna do.
Okay. So you got two zones in the bag. And I'm still a little sensitive talking about the zones based on I tried to film a video with a zone yesterday, and I walked in with as open a mind as I could. Like I was so ready to love it. What does the zone do for you?
So the zone. So I'll start with the Z zone. Z zone. I'm basically throwing it. I'm dominant forehand upshot. It's just more comfortable to me. I like looking at it. Um, it's just reliable. It's my upshot disc. It's not gonna turn over. It might go straight, but it's gonna go. It's overstable. It's gonna go. I don't know else to explain it. Just to the basket. It's my
Yeah.
like. There's not much flight to explain. It's just gonna go to the basket. Hopefully, if I throw it right. But yeah, it's my overstable. It'll go flat, or if I put it on a Hyzer, it's gonna be overstable, and it's basically my approach disc from within like 200. I'd say. If I can really rip on it and stuff.
Okay. So what about the soft one then? Because that's a unique one to have.
So the soft, I feel like it's more like your. So why don't you? I'm gonna flip this interview on you.
Okay.
Why don't you like the zone, and why do you use the pig? Is my question.
So it's a depth thing. The two things that really stand out about the pig to me versus the zone is the pig is noticeably deeper than the zone. So the pig came into my bag. Fun fact for people that like follow the Robbie C channel way back in the day, the first overstable putt and approach disc that I found was an AVR X3. Like, love the AVR X3. Think it feels really good, so smooth. But I found the AVR X3 because I'm a power forehand guy. So like when I was throwing long forehands, when I wanted to push the AVR X3 up to like 280, 300, I was finding that it was just really straight. Like it did not have the fade to hold on.
Yeah.
And so I tried out a couple different discs, and the two that stood out the most to me were the Pig and the Tactic by Discmania. And so both of them deeper, so I felt like I could lay into it, and it wasn't trying to fall off of my finger behind me on a forehand shot. Like it was coming in on those power shots. I could really hang on to it. Thumb track helps a lot for the Pig as well. So the zone doesn't have a thumb track, and it's shallow enough that when I try to throw a power forehand with a zone, why I think a lot of people love the zone on forehands is because it's shallow. It doesn't get hung up. Like it just comes off of your finger really fast.
Yeah.
So that's great for tons of people, just not for me. Now, what I'm jealous of for all the zone throwers is that you guys have Z, you have titanium, you have like there is so much premium plastic. So my like precious child is an R Pro based plastic disc that is just beaten to crud. It's warped, like it's all that. It's what I would imagine someone who has like a soft zone in their bag, like it's a shadow of its former self. But you've like thrown it enough to make it into that shadow that you're
Yeah.
confident with it. So
So is it also your like forehand overstable approach?
I bagged
The
3
pig?
picks. So I
Okay,
have
that makes
one,
sense.
I have Flippy, Precious Child, and then I have Straight Pig, and then Overstable Putt and Approach. And I even referenced in my video that I shot yesterday, I basically compared the pig to the Zone GT. That was the idea. And
Smart.
I made a note about the fact that I have visited Foundation 4 times this year, and I have not had the same pig in my bag for the Overstable Putt and Approach shot any trip. Like they've all been different because they just beat in that fast.
That's what I was gonna. That's literally where my next question was gonna go. Because I tried to. I'm not gonna lie, Robbie. See, you're a good marketer. I tried to pick because of you, and it just beating so fast. And I always wondered how Ricky always threw pick, but that makes sense. He's probably just cycling them over and over because they do beat
And
him pretty
his
fast.
pigs are the most durable pigs on the market.
The glow ones.
Yeah, it's like the Color Glow R Pro.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean those things are monstrous. They last like 4 months for me, so that's nice.
That's always nice.
Yikes.
Sorry, Brad, were you gonna say something? I didn't know.
No, I was just saying yikes because yeah, poor pig. No, the disc I've been patiently waiting to ask about this entire time is the con because I've never heard of it, nor have I felt it, nor do I know what it does. So I'm very excited to hear why you have it.
Haley King, baby.
Yeah. So I'll answer both your guys' questions. So soft zone, I think is it's just my more. I can flip it up and it'll still come back. It's just for touchy. It sits better. I could throw it on a Sky Annie and it'll sit better. And sometimes I need a little more oomph, and it'll flip up and then ride right and sit there. Basically, it's more for sitting, but sometimes just the certain angles, it's just better for me to flip it up and then know it's gonna like softly come back. Rather as the Z zone, I can't flip it up. And then sometimes if I just throw it too straight, I'm yanking it left or too soft, it's going right. So it's more of like I said, the Hyzer flip. I'm just feeling more accurate with it. Stuff like that. As for the con, the Haley King con. It was my overstable putter, approach putter, but it just kind of turned like again to I guess it's my workhorse of putter. So I have like 4 different workhorses down the line.
Different speeds. That's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gotten a little more flippy, but it still holds its integrity. I can throw it, it'll flip up and sometimes go right. It all just depends, but it holds it. It's not too flippy, not too stable, and if I throw it on Hyzer, it'll dump and be good. It's more of like a touchy angle type of disc.
Mm-hmm.
It's just my go-to approach putter disc backhand, I'd say, or just in the woods if it's like 200 feet hole or something.
I think that's how I feel about my Eclipse MV, Robbie, because you've seen it. It doesn't behave like an Eclipse MV per se until the very end of the flight. I can rely on it, and I do tend to lean on it. I'm like, I probably should throw something a little flippier here, but I'll make this work because I know what it does. So I think that's maybe how you feel about the con.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a lot of things I'm talking about is just more. It's comfortability. It's not the right disc per se. It's just what I feel comfortable with in my game. That's about it.
Yeah, the con was like I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to think. It makes sense that you have a con as someone who's like. It sounds like kind of on Innova's radar in terms of like watching releases and stuff like that and seeing factory seconds and all that. Like once you're inside their infrastructure, you actually see some really cool stuff roll through. Like they just had they released a new plastic of pigs, but it only got
Really?
released straight to like factory seconds. It's the like Halo. It's not
Really?
Halo Nexus, but it's their Nexus plastic. It's like Glow Nexus.
Oh, that is that. I think that's really cool. Were you able to grab one or?
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Okay, good.
I got some people who, when things like that happen,
That's awesome.
and I quickly hear, there's not a plastic of pig that's been made that is not currently in my basement,
So-
including Star and Blizzard Champion. So, yeah,
that's crazy.
that's why I
That's
just have to.
unheard of.
Yeah, and they're trying to tell me they can't make. Anyways, you can catch me. I'm going off.
Ben, you're going down a bad road, man. You're going down a bad road.
But yeah, like I think about that. So the con, I know they like. I feel like they only released the con in some super small drop because Haley
They
was
did.
like, "I'm throwing these. I think they're great." And they were like, "Oh yeah, so let's release a couple hundred of them, and that's it."
Yeah,
like-
because I think she just couldn't find the P3. That's what I heard. One of my friends on my team challenge had to buy her P3Xs because she loved them so much, but couldn't really find as much. So I think that was it. Like, please make the P3X, and I'll throw the Innova P3X. And then they were like, okay. So that's what it was for. She just is a big P3X gal.
Yeah, once again, the beauty of they have the molds. Just let the world know. Like it's okay. Well, they'll jump on it.
Make all the molds Innova, please.
Yeah.
I mean, why not?
I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Star Plastic, best plastic. Okay, so with all that being said, Brad and I have been texting on the side. I think what we'd like to do, normally we send a disc as a suggestion, things like that. But with your bag, it was like, all right, so Ben throws farther than both of us. So I'm going to be very curious, like hearing his power and where things slot before we try to make like a suggestion or anything to try to add on. Have you thrown the Origin?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That was the one where I used to throw it instead of the MD one.
Okay. So you have thrown the Origin. Too flippy for you?
Yeah. So yeah, it was just, I don't know. I just wasn't comfortable with it. It was too flippy, but then if I didn't put enough oomph, it just didn't fly right. It just wasn't like a disc where I really felt. I kind of had to really, I guess, tempo down on it, and it's just. But
Okay.
I it was in my bag, and I do enjoy the Origin. It's just it'll come back probably. Who knows?
Yeah. Robbie, this may be off base as far as recommendation, but what do you think about an Eclipse Hex for him?
I do think an Eclipse Hex could be really solid. Have you thrown the Hex?
Yeah, so the Lozado, when they came out, I got my hands on one, and I threw a few times. I think it just didn't fit in my bag. I think I was testing it, and something overruled it. But I like that suggestion. I think it's great. I think I think the Hex is an amazing straight disc, and I think that's something that I could definitely use. I think
the way you described your Leopard 3, how you said you could get it to easily like turn, but you felt like confident with it and it wasn't going to like completely turn over. Now, for me, I would have to like try pretty hard to get the Eclipse Hex to stay turning right on backhand. Yeah. But I think you have the spin probably to get it to do that way easier. But I don't think you'll have to worry about it like rolling on you or burning. I think it's going to be like more of like a slower, like probably Leopard, between your Dark Rebel and Leopard 3, probably for you specifically.
Really? Yeah. I think that's a slot in my bag that I could definitely use, where it's like a little more straighter to right as opposed to straighter to left. So I have one, so I'll have to try it out.
Yeah. Well, Ben, we just want to say we're grateful for you, man. Grateful for having you on. And would definitely be curious. We might even get you Eclipse Hex in the mail. That way you can throw a couple instead of like, okay, here's one's fresh off the shelf. You have the Lozado, which is the Lozados were like compared to stock Eclipse Hexes, I feel like the Lizados fly a little different
I'd agree.
since they've come out. So get you another one or something like that, and then have you come on and tell us what's the difference between like how does something like that slot in, especially as a power thrower.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'd love. Yeah, I was about to say, like, I can make you guys a little follow up reel and be like, so I was on the In the Bag podcast, or whatever. I can come back on. We can. We
I like
can
both of those ideas.
reconvene. We can reconvene. Any suggestion you give me, I'm willing to try. I'm
Right.
not. Guys, I'm 925 rated. Okay, I know it sounds like I'm supposed to be better, but so my disc slots are super malleable. I'm not sold, other than the Destroyer, obviously.
Yeah, I mean the Destroyer's it's one of the best drivers of all time for a reason.
Yeah.
Another place we could reconvene, and this is where I want to open it up for the people that love getting to know Ben. Where can they find you? And also tell us about this very casual event that you're putting on in January.
Yeah, casual. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Ben Kenny's, BenKenneys. I post content there of just cool stuff that I think is cool. Like I said, the Ace, the Simon Eagle videos up there if you want to go check that out. So follow me there. I just love disc golf, and that's about it. As for the event, it's the Northeast Disc Golf Expo, the only, I believe, expo / convention specifically for disc golf in the world. It's happening again January 27th and 28th in 2024. We had Robbie C there last year. We had, MVP, Thought Space, a bunch of awesome retailers. We're doing it bigger and better. We doubled the venue. There's going to be more pros, influencers, activities. We're going to have more exclusives, drops and deals, hopefully from manufacturers. We're going to hopefully get some more. And it's just going to be an all around great time. I'm hoping to get Atlas there. I know that was in the talks last year. So I'd love that to happen. And yeah, hopefully Robbie C again. If you guys want to meet Robbie C, I'm sure he'll be at the expo.
Yes, sir.
And yeah, we had Josh from Overthrow giving free form reviews, and Jesse was there. But this year, I'm hoping to get more influencers, more creators, more pros, everything. It's just a place for all things disc golf. It's a disc golf convention, expo, whatever you want to call it. There's gonna be awesome seminars. It's the place to be for 2 days, and you can just stock up for the season and just the camaraderie. 2,000 plus disc golfers in one room.
Plus,
what
I'll go ahead and say Maple Hill's not that far away from where the convention happens.
Nope.
So if it's always been on your bucket list of like, I want to go play Maple Hill, you can knock out 2 birds in 1 stone and come plan your trip, plan to get out there, and then you can go to the expo in the morning, and then you can head to Maple Hill in the afternoon. You can do so many different ways.
Yep. Yeah. It's going to be a great time. I'm working really hard on it to make it bigger and better than last year. For the fans, the attendees. I just really want to put together a great product with variety and just get stuff that people can get at the expo, and hopefully that'll happen. So we'll see.
I love it. Well, Ben, we appreciate you, man, and look forward to having you on for the follow-up, man.
Thank you, Robbie. Thank you, Brad. I really appreciate you coming on. We will see you next time. Wait, what? Did I just say I appreciate you coming on?
Yep. Hey,
Holy crap.
Hey, it's okay.
I'm just in podcast mode. I'm sorry. For anyone that doesn't know, I'm on the Nick and Matt show, so I also podcast. But oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. Guys, thank you.
What a great outro.
Thank you for having me on, is what I meant to say. I just flipped the words. Guys, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
So good. That is phenomenal.
That might be the best guest exit of all time in all 76 episodes or 56 episodes.
Yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it. So, y'all, that's Ben. That's intern Ben. Dude is a phenomenal human being. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Last 2 episodes have been a little different in terms of like suggestions and things like that, but as we continue to evolve as a show, I just feel like
Mm.
it's bringing on different perspectives. The format, although we love the format, there comes a point, right, where we're going through and we're like, all right, it's an understable approach disc. All right, it's an understable fairway. All right, it's an
Mhm.
overstable this. So having the opportunity to even hear how more people build and craft their bags, I think is super important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, hopefully you all have been listening for all these episodes and your game is progressing too. And it's nice to see, someone like Ben who is obviously farther along and has progressed pretty quickly and has like a different strategy because he throws farther, and maybe you're getting there too. And so we want to make sure we're offering, perspective for all you new folks or semi new folks out there, but also people that are progressing too. So we're trying to mix up the format a little bit here and there. The same old format that you've known to grown to love will be back in a few weeks. But next week we're excited because Robbie, next week is the recap episode for the Jason and the battle we did, the bag draft. So
Yeah.
very excited about that one. To recap, no spoilers here, but if you're wanting to know how that ended up, then it'll be excited because Robbie wasn't there. So Robbie will
That's
get
true.
he's got a lot of questions and we can walk through that with him. But, until then, speaking of discs, if you're on your own disc draft at home or are trying to switch out some discs in your bag, foundationdisc.com. We can't do anything without foundationdisc.com. And we've got a lot of new cool stuff in the warehouse. Robbie, hit him with what's new in the warehouse. Just kidding. I'll do that.
Like, oh, baby, I'll tell you what we got new in the warehouse. We got pigs and pigs and pigs. And
Hey, maybe next week you'll be here, so you can actually do that. That will be fun. So I'll hit you with that next week. But no, we've got a lot of cool Prodigy. I mean, we've stocked up on some very cool. I mean, we've got archives back in stock. We have F9s back in stock, A5s. We have a lot of cool stamps. Even for you newer folks, maybe some of you moms and dads out there want to get your little ones. They've been playing. We have some really cool like F7s that are like 130 class. So like there's some like really cool Prodigy going up, all kinds of different molds with unique stamps. I mean, there's some Rip It. I think they're D2s. I may be mistaken, but have like the frog stamp on them with a little witch hat for Halloween. There's like a lot of cool Prodigy going up. So make sure you check out Isaac Robinson PA3s.
Come on.
Those are all up there. We got a trilogy drop that happened today when we're filming this on Thursday. So there's I'm laughing because for Warehouse Guys Throw, I threw the VIP Ice Orbit Hatchet, which I was very excited to throw. Now the wind gusts were maybe 40 miles an hour.
Oh no! Oh no!
Robbie, did Jason send you that video?
No.
Because if I'll send it after you. I threw it. It flipped up and the wind caught it and it turned into a roller, the most aggressive roller I've ever seen. And the wind was just zigzagging and pushing it. It rolled it up a hill, like 70 feet uphill. Like the wind just caught it. It was a epic event. But we have that VIP Ice Orbit Sapphires are dropping. We have Supreme EMAC Truths if you're a truth thrower. I felt those things and I'm like, man, maybe I need to be a truth thrower because these they feel so great. Supreme Judges are going up. Prime Burst Agents. I mean, there's all kind. Frostline River, Frostline Compass. For all you, those are spicy too. So, and also Berg Alert, Berg X is coming out as well. So it drops today as well. So, and we'll have some other Castoplast going up and some other Discmania restock items going up. Just stock like S-Line FDs, things we've been out of for a minute, and they finally restocked them. So we restocked them for you. So make sure you check all that at foundationdisc.com. Also, if you're not a Hyzer Club member, you can be one for free. So make sure you check that out. You can get a little sneak peek of what's going on behind the scenes if you're a free member, and see when you might get like links to drops a little early or new merchandise or things like that. So hey, check that out for free. And if you're deciding like, hey, maybe this is cool, you're going to see a lot of teases of behind the scenes content, exclusive videos, and hey, maybe you want to jump on board or give that as a gift for someone for Christmas. Same thing with a Birdie Fam. Birdie Fam is now underneath the Foundation umbrella, and you'll see a little tab on foundationdisc.com now. And if you're not a Birdie Fam member, guess what? You're missing out on some quality, some QT with Robbie C. So Make sure you do that.
New designs, different merch, just a really cool. And we have as of yesterday, which is Wednesday that we're recording, November 1st, we have revamped, relaunched, new perks, new everything there. So really, really cool opportunity. And because of our partnership with Foundation, like it's just, you get really cool access to some things. So
yeah, we got some
definitely
really
be
cool
sure to
stuff.
check it out.
Cool stuff cooking up there too. Some exclusivity and some things Rob and I started talking about. And hey, last shameless plug, our 3-disc subscription box is about to open up for some new members to come in. And I will say, Robbie, and I don't even know if Robbie knows about the box yet. He usually doesn't. It's usually a surprise for him too. But I'm very proud of this month's box. What we're about to pull off is a little epic, and I'm very proud of it. And I'm excited for you all to get the experience. It's going to be a little different. There's going to be some collab opportunities. I'll tease that as well. So this month is a good box, and just hang on to your hats. It's going to be a good one.
Dude, that's fantastic. So whether you head there now, whether you head there later, eventually you're going to find stuff and you're going to be like, oh man, this is my mid-range workhorse. This is my fairway workhorse. And you too can be like Ben. And when you find something good, what do you do if it's good, Brad?
You keep in the bag. We'll see y'all next week.